Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarret Patton.
Welcome to episode 202 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarret Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, you might as well rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And you know what I mean when I say dissed. I'm talking about displaced, disgruntled, disenfranchised, dissatisfied, whatever the diss is in your career, this is what we're working to fix. And today's episode is a warning to stop always chasing the next big thing. And I remember there was a time in my career when I was chasing titles. I moved to a new hospital system because I felt that I should be a medical director of a pediatric clinic. And so I found a job that had a medical director of a small clinic, and I took that job. And I thought it was a great position because I was able to build the practice from like a 2-nurse practitioner thing to having over 8 docs, probably 10 nurse practitioners, medical students, residents, the whole 9 things, seeing tens of thousands of visits, and that was all cool, and that was great. But I said, well, this is going so well. What is next for me? What should I be doing? And so I had interest in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and doing lots of research in health equity. So I became the medical director of health equity across the entire hospital system. So that was a kind of cool thing for me to do, where I could change policy, I could change things that made health better for the community. And I started saying, well, what's next? What's next? Well, then I became division chief of general pediatrics, and that was a nice thing. I could stay in my own specialty, leading a bunch of docs, trying to make some improvements and things where I could, but it came to what's next. And I said, well, what's next? Well, I became the president of the medical staff, and now I'm overseeing 1,500 docs, lots of advanced practice clinicians, and I said, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm working with the board of trustees. I'm working with the C-suite. I'm working with the community and giving messages out in the community. I said, this is it. And so I started to chase the next title, which, hey, am I going to be a VP or a SVP of DEI, or am I going to become associate CMO or become the all-around CMO and be a chief medical officer, or do I just go on and be a president or a CEO somewhere? And I had all these great ideas, and I was chasing all these titles that I wanted to have as a part of my career, and all of that started coming to crash down on me when somebody had some crazy false allegations against me that actually led to my arrest and ultimately my exoneration. But I lost everything in the process, whether it be medical licenses, DEA licenses, everything started crashing down. And I wrote all about it on License to Live, a perimeter rebuilding your career or your life after your career is shattered. So I did all of these things and started from scratch, starting with something different. But this time I could start as CEO. And I realized I didn't have to title chase anymore because now I'm doing other things in order to bring, good favor to people, helping people out with their problems. And I'm living another dream now. And I realize we don't have to chase all the time. There are a lot of things that come through our lives and through our time of life that we can celebrate and relish in that moment, because all too often we let these moments pass us right on by without celebrating our success. So I'm not sitting here telling you guys shouldn't have goals, you shouldn't have dreams, you shouldn't have aspirations, because of course you should have that so you can give yourself a general direction on where to go. However, there are times where, despite your best laid plans, things get off track and you have to go somewhere else. And in this case, I'm going to propose something to you that will help get you back on the right track. And it's called a reverse bucket list. So think about that. And I will be back on the other side of these commercials talking about a reverse bucket list. But of course, we have to thank our sponsors.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarret's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarret.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarret on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey, let's go.
What are you guys waiting for? Simply go to timewithdrjarret.com, set up a free strategy session with me. It costs you only 30 minutes of your life, but I was on a strategy session just the other week with someone that we were talking about problems that they had in their career and some of the next steps that they wanted to go. And they hit this roadblock that we were able to break down into smaller pieces. And I get a call back, 2 weeks later saying how you won't believe what happened to me, Dr. Jarret. All of these things that we talked about in this session actually came to fruition. And they were so excited about this. I was happy to celebrate their success. And they are going on to do great things. It costs you nothing but 30 minutes of your time, and you don't believe the breakthroughs that can happen and the immediate impact something like that can have in your life. So reach out to me. Well, let's talk about this reverse bucket list. You guys heard me open up the show talking about how I was chasing titles and going on and always looking at the next step, the next step, the next step. And then when all of that was ripped right from underneath me, I'm falling to the ground. I feel like I have nothing because all I was doing was planning and plotting these next steps. And in these moments in our lives, all of these challenging moments, no matter how they come to you, it could be in a relationship, it could be in your career, it could be with your health. All of these things come to us at different times, and we don't understand them. It's pain and suffering that we feel like maybe sometimes we shouldn't even have to be going through. And nonetheless, these things develop in our lives all the time. And I was doing some reading recently and saw this great idea and said, why didn't I do this myself a long time ago? And it's called a reverse bucket list. So basically, instead of focusing yourself on what's next and what you're going to be doing next and all the things that are going to be happening in your life, you actually are looking backwards. You're looking at your life in reverse, and you're looking at all of the things you've accomplished, all of the things that you've done, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's with travel, whether it's with your career. And you are looking at all of these things so that you understand, hey, you know what? My life has not been a waste. I have made an impact somewhere. I have overcome adversity. Hey, I am living proof of resilience. These are the things that you can do when you take a look behind you. It's one of those, long adages that you've heard me say before on this show. As you're walking down the path of life, you're always looking forward, looking at where you're going to go. But it is very helpful to turn around and look behind you to see how far you've come. And that's exactly what a reverse bucket list will do for your life. You can really appreciate all of the things you've had. So it helps convert your mindset to that mindset of abundance. Again, we're not looking at scarcity because you're looking at all the great things that you have done in your life. And as a result, you like, oh, all these things that I've been chasing and looking forward to, well, they're fine, but I've also done a lot of things. So let's talk about this reverse bucket list and how you might create one. So your reverse bucket list can be set up as you might a bucket list. Many people put a bucket list saying, oh, these are all the things I want to do before I die. And, I'm going to list them in this order and hopefully I'll achieve them before I die because it's something that you may want to do in the future. And that's great because that gives you aspirations, goals, things you want to attain, and you can create a pathway to lead towards some of those things. But the beauty in the reverse bucket list is you don't have to do any planning. You simply have to do some reviewing. So, and it's something that can happen in a short period of time, or you can really extend it out. And you may even want to do this exercise with your partner as well, or a close friend, because once you appreciate the things that you have done in your life and the things that you are continuing to do in your life, you just simply turn around and look back. So grab a piece of paper, get your notes app out, or, sit quietly and think and meditate. But the couple of things that you're going to do are just list even major achievements. So these could be things like, graduations, maybe certifications, maybe a marriage, typically big milestones that have gone down there. And it could be, something that may be bad in your life. Like maybe you had cancer and you have battled cancer and you are winning the battle. So all of these major achievements are things that shape you as the person that you are. So write all of those things down. And we're only talking about the major ones at this point. And once you start writing these things down, you will be like, wow, I have done so many things. So for, my reverse bucket list, I would look at professional certifications like, doing a couple of fellowships around cultural competency and health equity, which I thought that was a really big accomplishment. I might even talk about what I talked about in an earlier episode of License to Live, talked about driving a van in President Obama's town visit motorcade when he came to Allentown, Pennsylvania. I mean, that was a really big thing. I could write a whole storybook about the things that happened in that day. But then it's not always about getting these extraordinary things out there, because when I sit and reflect and do this bucket list, and maybe I'll share it up there. And if you guys want me to share it, just hit me up at Dr. Jarret across social media and say, hey, put your bucket list on Twitter, your reverse bucket list on Twitter, because it's going to be one of those things that will be fun to review. But again, it doesn't have to be all of these major things. The other thing you're going to look at are small but meaningful wins. And one of these things that I like to look at are huge, because if I'm looking at someone that I mentored or coached, and I look at my interns that I have that are usually high school or early college age students that work with the License to Live program, and they pick a project, they do some things, and they ultimately get to go on, and I get to see them graduate college and do some pretty cool things in their own life. But it wasn't a big part of my life providing this mentorship to someone, but it made a huge impact on someone else's. So this is a meaningful win. And anybody that I'm coaching, one of the things we start off all of our sessions are talking about the wins, because every week, every day, you should be able to pick out something that is a win. Even in your worst days, you can find something that is a win. The next thing I want you to consider is all of those tough times that you made it through. Sometimes you forget about some of those tough times, and you can't, in the moment when you were living through adversity, it seemed like that was the biggest thing in front of you. You had to get around, you had to overcome. Even though you wanted to quit, you didn't. And most of the times you were able to just come back and bounce back to greater than ever. So look at some of the adversity you've been through, because all of those challenges you've had in your past are here to help prepare you for any challenges that you may have to face in the future. So look both at the good times when you're looking at your major achievements or your small wins that are very meaningful, but you're also looking at those tough times that you've gone through, because it's important to acknowledge those challenges, because they have been formative in who you are today. And so that's the final thing I want to do from you creating your bucket list, is just reflect on a couple of the blessings that came out of all of these things. So it could have been a gift that was awarded to you after a setback. It could be a chance meeting that you happen to just meet somebody out there that really changed your path. Or perhaps you just expressed a moment of kindness that helped you heal, and it also helped someone else heal. So take a time and look, especially if you're looking at the challenges you've overcome, because a lot of time those challenges lead to a direct blessing. And it is a gift or opportunity, even in the face of adversity, that you are able to see that even when bad things happen to you, good things can come as a result. So it's always looking at that positive side. It's always looking at what's next. And those 4 steps are the easiest way to make a reverse bucket list. List your major achievements. Highlight your small but meaningful wins. Acknowledges all the challenges that you've overcome. And reflect on those unexpected gifts or blessings that have come along the way that seem like they were randomly placed in your life, but made a huge difference. And I will hit you on the other side of this break with the beginning of my bucket list. I haven't completed my bucket list, but I'll give you a sample of a few of the things that I've done that I'm particularly thankful for as I'm charting my future wherever it leads. As I've been writing this new book with a co-author, Emmett Hayes, called Secrets of the VIP Mindset. I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to tell you more about it, but I'll probably have to wait for another episode. Right now, we're going to thank our sponsors, and I'll be back on the other side of the break with my reverse bucket list. Hey, this is Dr. Jarret Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensed2live.com. That's licensed2live.com. So many of you guys have been hanging on this episode, listening, learning, watching, seeing what's going to happen, and it's a lot of fun. I'm challenging you guys all to write your own reverse bucket list. By the time you're finished writing this reverse bucket list, you're going to see how many blessings really have occurred in your life. And it may make you adjust your bucket list because you said maybe some of these things aren't that important because I've had many more meaningful experiences in my life that, maybe I just forgot or undervalued. But I want to just give you an example of some things that are on my bucket list that are there. And so, of course, we talked about step one, listing major achievements, and there's lots of major achievements that you could pick from in your life. But one of the biggest achievements is writing my first book, License to Live, A Primer to Rebuilding Your Life After Your Career Shattered. And if you haven't read it yet, it was designed as a guide to help professionals, particularly doctors, get around a bad career event that may have taken them off track. So you can reinvent yourself. You can do some big things. And so within that major achievement, there's probably small but meaningful wins because, I don't know who every single person who read that book and what they may have gotten out of the book, but it very well could have been something that changed your life. And so if I'm focusing on highlighting these small but meaningful wins, one of them really stands out to me. Again, taking me back to a strategy session where we started off the year and this person never became my client. They just called me for a strategy session. They were having a tough time in their career. They, like me, had also been accused of some wrongdoings, which couldn't have been further from the truth. And they were going through a very, very challenging time. And they disclosed in the middle of that strategy session that they're so down that they have really been contemplating suicide. And the fact that that person had the courage to call up, have a strategy session with me that day, and divulge that type of information to me, I knew this was not going to be your typical strategy session, getting some great advice and going about your business. And perhaps we work together, perhaps we don't. This one became, as you might know, an emergency. And this is before we had 988 where you could call and have a mental health or behavioral health emergency. But I stayed on the line with this person for quite some time until we were able to get a safety plan. We were able to make sure that they were safe. They had some backup and even get them into a psych admission so that they could work out some of their mental health issues that had been weighing on them very bad based upon their work. That is something that is highly, highly meaningful to me. It's highly meaningful to this person, and we still keep touch to this day. And he has gone on to do incredible things in his life. But those are the types of things that you have to do. Many of you fire starters out here in this License to Live community have had to rebuild, or you're in the process of rebuilding. So highlight those small but meaningful wins. So, of course, acknowledging the challenges. one of my biggest challenges was just being an everyday pediatrician, physician executive, being knocked off that pathway, and going through my entire License to Live story. Now, I'm going to tie number 3, acknowledge your challenges overcome, and number 4, reflecting on the unexpected blessings, because in the midst of my own Licensed to Live storm, I found myself reaching and stretching and trying to find something else out there, because I wanted to rebuild my career and pick it up where I left off as a high-level physician executive. But despite my licenses and certifications and everything coming back to me that had been, wrongfully taken away from me, it wasn't easy for me to re-enter, because people, despite my exoneration, people looked at me as damaged goods and said, hey, maybe you're not the guy that everybody thought you were. And I have this negative bias against me, finding employment again or doing any of the things that I thought I would do. But then, instead of feeling sorry for myself and being down and depressed, I stopped and reflected on the unexpected blessing that this extreme challenge in my life gave me. And it gave me the opportunity to create Dr. Jarret PLLC, which is my own coaching and consulting firm that I'm able to do some things. It led me to publishing my first book and 3 subsequent books. It allowed me to win a literary award. It allowed me to speak on major networks, television, radio, and otherwise. And it's allowed me to help so many professionals who felt lost and watching them soar and rise again. And so the time that I spent reflecting on blessings that come, these gifts or opportunities that come to you during and after an adverse event in your life. Remember, if all of you guys are going through a storm right now, just look and smile and know that a gift is coming for you. And so that is a sample of my own bucket list. And I'm going to do a lot more work on it, because once you start doing it, it really becomes fun. And you really have a greater sense of gratitude for the life you have been allowed to live. Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe to License to Live. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And if you want to hear more about my reverse bucket list, make sure you're checking me out on social media, because that is where I tend to hang out in between episodes, particularly on LinkedIn. So make sure you are giving me a shout and a follow anywhere on social media at Dr. Jarret. Spell out the word Dr. J-A, 2 R's, E-1-T. And I will see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarret's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.